The familiar aroma of roasted turkey filled our home as I carefully arranged the Thanksgiving table for our family gathering. Sarah, my wife of 7 years, was upstairs getting ready. We used to be so in love, but lately something had changed. Our bedroom had become a cold place, with excuses replacing passion night after night. I never imagined that today at our Thanksgiving dinner, everything would come crashing down in the most humiliating way possible. While you take a moment to think about your own family gatherings, let me know where you're watching from, and hit that like and subscribe button. Trust me, this Thanksgiving story is about to get as uncomfortable as dry turkey. I met Sarah at a mutual friend's birthday party back when I was 28. She was beautiful, confident, and had this infectious laugh that made everyone around her smile. We hit it off immediately, talking until the bar closed. By our third date, I knew she was special. Within a year I had proposed, and 6 months later we were married in a small ceremony with close friends and family. Those first years were incredible. We both had stable jobs, me in financial planning and Sarah in marketing. We bought a modest house in the suburbs, took weekend trips whenever possible, and talked endlessly about our dreams and plans. Our intimate life was passionate and frequent. We could barely keep our hands off each other sometimes, not even making it to the bedroom. "You are the best thing that ever happened to me," Sarah would whisper as we lay together at night. I believed her completely. Our friends called us the perfect couple. My buddy Tom would roll his eyes whenever Sarah and I got affectionate at group gatherings. "Get a room, you two," he would joke, but I could tell he was a little envious of what we had. Around our 5th anniversary, things began to change subtly. Sarah started working longer hours at her marketing firm. She mentioned a new project with important clients that required more attention. I supported her completely, picking up more household responsibilities so she could focus on her career. Just a few months of this crazy schedule, she assured me, kissing me quickly on her way out the door. "Then things will go back to normal." But they never did. Sarah started attending more team dinners and work events that stretched late into the night. When I asked if I could join, she would explain they were strictly business. "You would be bored to tears," she insisted. Our bedroom became a battleground of rejection. Whenever I initiated intimacy, Sarah had a headache, was too tired, or had an early meeting the next day. Weeks passed without physical connection. When I tried to discuss it, she accused me of only caring about sex. "Is that all I am to you?" she snapped one night after I tried to kiss her neck while she checked her emails in bed. "Just someone to satisfy your needs," I backed off, hurt and confused. I started reading relationship books, browsing forums for advice, even suggested we see a marriage counselor. Sarah dismissed the idea. "We do not need therapy," she said firmly. "All marriages go through phases. This is normal." One evening I came home early and heard Sarah on the phone in our bedroom, the door slightly ajar. She was laughing, that genuine laugh I rarely heard anymore. "You are terrible," she was saying, her voice playful and flirtatious. "I cannot believe you said that." When she noticed me in the doorway, she quickly ended the call. "Just Amanda from work," she explained, though something in her eyes did not quite match her words. I tried everything I could think of to reignite our connection. Surprise date nights, weekend getaways, thoughtful gifts. Nothing worked. Sarah participated half-heartedly, checking her phone constantly, her mind clearly elsewhere. As Thanksgiving approached, I hoped the holiday might bring us closer. Sarah loved traditional celebrations, and her parents were coming along with her sister Jessica. My mother and brother Jake would attend too, plus a few close friends. I wanted everything to be perfect, clinging to the idea that a wonderful holiday might somehow fix what was breaking between us. "I will handle everything," I told Sarah. "You focus on work and I will make this Thanksgiving special." She seemed relieved, though not particularly grateful. "Just make sure to get the cranberry sauce my mom likes," was all she said. I threw myself into preparations, spending days planning the menu, decorating the house, and shopping for ingredients. I wanted to prove to Sarah, and maybe to myself, that I was still the thoughtful, caring husband she had fallen in love with. The night before Thanksgiving, I stayed up late, polishing silverware and setting the table while Sarah watched a movie in the bedroom. When I finally came to bed, she was already asleep or pretending to be turned away from my side of the bed. I stared at the ceiling, wondering how we had drifted so far apart, never imagining how much worse things would get in less than 24 hours. Thanksgiving Day arrived with clear skies and crisp autumn air. I was up at 6, sliding the turkey into the oven and prepping side dishes. Sarah slept in until 10, then spent most of the day getting ready, barely helping with preparations. By 4 in the afternoon, our house looked like something from a magazine. I had outdone myself with decorations, a centerpiece of autumn leaves, and candles, mini pumpkins, along the mantel, and a handwritten place card for each guest. The aroma of roasting turkey sage stuffing and apple pie filled every room. Guests began arriving at 5. First came my mother Margaret carrying her famous sweet potato casserole. She hugged me tight and whispered, "Everything looks wonderful, Dusty. You have worked so hard." My brother Jake arrived with a bottle of expensive bourbon and his usual bear hug. Next were Sarah's parents, Robert and Linda, formal as always, in perfectly coordinated outfits. Her sister Jessica came with her husband Paul, both carrying designer shopping bags filled with wine and gourmet chocolates. "Where is the lady of the house?" Robert asked, looking around for Sarah. "Still getting ready," I explained, trying to hide my frustration. She had been upstairs for over 3 hours. Our friends began arriving: Tom and his wife Brianna, Sarah's college roommate Amanda, and her boyfriend, and a couple from our neighborhood. 14 people in total, all mingling in our living room as I put the finishing touches on dinner. Sarah finally made her entrance wearing a new dress I had never seen before. She looked stunning, and knew it, accepting compliments with practiced grace. I noticed she went straight to the bar I had set up, pouring herself a generous glass of wine before even greeting her parents. By the time we sat down for dinner, Sarah was on her 3rd glass. Her cheeks were flushed and she laughed too loudly at every joke. I caught her mother giving her disapproving looks, but Sarah either did not notice or did not care. The meal began beautifully. Everyone complimented the food, especially the turkey, which had turned out perfectly moist with crispy golden skin. I felt a moment of pride that quickly dissolved when I realized Sarah had not said a word about all my hard work. After the main course, as we waited for dessert, Jessica suggested a game. "Let us go around the table and each say what we are thankful for about the person to our right and one small complaint." "Is that really appropriate?" my mother asked cautiously. "It is Thanksgiving, perfect time for appreciation and honesty," Jessica insisted. "I will start." The game proceeded around the table with mostly harmless comments. "I am thankful for Tom's generosity, but wish he would not talk during movies. I appreciate Linda's fashion advice, but could do with less of it." Laughter filled the room, everyone keeping their complaints light and playful, until it was Sarah's turn. She had switched from wine to whiskey, her words slightly slurred as she turned to look at me. The room quieted, perhaps sensing the sudden tension. "I am thankful that Dusty is such a devoted husband," she began, and for a second I felt relief. Then her expression changed, a mean little smile playing at her lips. "But I have to complain that there is absolutely nothing to be thankful for in bed anymore. Zero satisfaction. Zilch." The silence was immediate and suffocating. I felt blood rush to my face, as 14 pairs of eyes darted between Sarah and me, then looked anywhere but at us. Jessica covered her mouth, but not before I caught her smirk. Sarah, her mother, hissed. Sarah looked around defiantly. "It is just honesty. Our right. Dusty is great at making turkey but terrible at stuffing, if you know what I mean." Amanda, who had also been drinking heavily, burst into laughter. "Oh my God, Sarah. You did not just say that." But she had. In front of my family, her family, our friends. My most intimate inadequacy, real or imagined, laid bare at the Thanksgiving table like another dish to be passed around and dissected. "Perhaps we should serve dessert," my mother suggested desperately, already half rising from her chair. I sat frozen, humiliation burning through my entire body. 7 years of marriage reduced to a crude joke for everyone's entertainment. I looked at Sarah, searching for any sign of regret or shame, but found only defiant amusement as she took another swig of whiskey. Somehow I made it through dessert, operating on autopilot as I served pie and coffee. Conversations resumed in awkward fits and starts around me. I noticed Jake shooting murderous looks at Sarah, while my mother patted my hand whenever she passed by. As guests began leaving, making hasty excuses about early morning commitments, I mechanically said goodbyes at the door. Sarah had disappeared upstairs claiming a headache. The irony was not lost on me. After everyone left, I found her in our bathroom removing makeup. "We need to talk about what happened," I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. "Oh, please," she rolled her eyes. "It was just a joke." Everyone was sharing complaints. "You humiliated me in front of everyone we care about," she sighed dramatically. "You are being oversensitive. Nobody will remember it tomorrow. I will remember it, I replied. And I think I deserve to know why you would say something so cruel. Look, she turned to face me, irritation clear in her eyes. Maybe if you put as much effort into our sex life as you do into cooking and cleaning, I would not have anything to complain about. Her words hit like physical blows. I have been trying for months to connect with you, I said quietly. You are the one who is always too busy or too tired. Well, maybe you are just not that exciting anymore, she snapped, pushing past me into the bedroom. Some men know how to keep things interesting. I stood there, her words echoing in my mind. Some men. Not me, but some men. The implication was clear, confirming suspicions I had been trying to ignore. That night, I slept in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, as pieces began falling into place. Sarah's late nights, the secretive phone calls, the new clothes, the emotional and physical distance, all pointing to a truth I had been avoiding for too long. The days following Thanksgiving were a blur of pain and determination. Sarah acted as if nothing had happened, going to work early and coming home late as usual. When we did cross paths, she was distant but civil, like we were roommates rather than spouses. I took a few days off work claiming illness. In reality, I was conducting an investigation into my own marriage. The public humiliation at Thanksgiving had finally broken through my denial. Now I needed proof, not just suspicions. The opportunity came faster than expected. Sarah left for work Monday morning, but in her rush, forgot her phone on the kitchen counter. It was password protected, but I knew her habits. She used the same code for everything: her birth year, plus the first 2 digits of her birth month. The phone unlocked on my first try. What I found confirmed my worst fears. Text messages, dozens of them, between Sarah and someone named Mark, her coworker Mark, the man she had mentioned occasionally as part of the team working on the Reynolds account. The texts were explicit, detailing their encounters and mocking me in ways that made the Thanksgiving comment seem tame by comparison. Dusty thinks I am working late again, one message from Sarah read. If only he knew what I was really working on. Cannot wait to see you, Mark had replied. Wear that thing I like. I scrolled through months of messages, each one driving the knife deeper. Their affair had been going on for nearly 6 months, right under my nose. There were photos too, ones that seared themselves into my brain, showing my wife in hotel rooms I had never visited with her. I took screenshots of everything, sending them to my email before carefully returning the phone exactly where Sarah had left it. Then I sat at our kitchen table, physically shaking as reality crashed down around me. But there was more to discover. That afternoon I went through our financial records, something I had neglected while trying to save our marriage. Our joint account showed large withdrawals, thousands of dollars with no clear purpose. Credit card statements revealed purchases at luxury boutiques and expensive restaurants on days Sarah claimed to be working late. The most shocking discovery was our savings account. We had been putting money aside for years, planning to eventually start a family. Half of it was gone, withdrawn over the past 4 months, in increments just small enough that I might not notice without careful scrutiny. That evening, instead of confronting Sarah, I called a lawyer. Lisa Harrington came highly recommended for divorce cases involving infidelity. She agreed to see me the next morning. Bring all financial records and any evidence of the affair, she advised. And do not confront your wife yet. Element of surprise is important here. The meeting with Lisa was eye-opening. According to her, I had a strong case for a favorable divorce settlement given Sarah's infidelity and financial misconduct. Lisa helped me devise a strategic plan, starting with securing my personal assets and documenting everything. For the next 2 weeks, I played the role of oblivious husband perfectly. I went to work, came home, even attempted conversations with Sarah, as if trying to repair our relationship, all while methodically building my case and preparing for what was coming. I opened new bank accounts at a different bank. I secured important documents and family heirlooms at my brother's house. I photographed all valuable items in our home and compiled a detailed list of our assets. I even installed a small camera in our living room, capturing Sarah, bringing Mark into our home when she thought I was at work. The hardest part was pretending nothing was wrong, especially when Sarah continued her casual cruelty. Working late again, she would ask with fake sympathy when I mentioned dinner plans. The irony was almost unbearable. Finally, 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, I was ready for the confrontation. I had taken the day off work, but told Sarah I would be in an all-day meeting. Instead, I waited at home, all my evidence organized and ready. When Sarah walked through the door at 6, she froze at the sight of me sitting calmly at the dining table. "What are you doing home?" she asked, instantly defensive. "Sit down, Sarah. We need to talk." "I do not have time for this. I have plans tonight." "With Mark?" I asked quietly. Her face drained of color. "What?" "Mark Reynolds, your coworker. The man you have been sleeping with for the past 6 months. That, Mark." "I do not know what you are talking about," she stammered, but her eyes darted to the manila folders on the table. "Please, Sarah, let us not insult each other further. I know everything." Slowly, I laid out the evidence. The text messages, the photographs, the financial records showing her theft and deception. The video of her bringing Mark into our home, into our bed. She moved through stages as I spoke. Denial, anger, bargaining, and finally desperate threats. "You cannot prove anything," she snarled. "And even if you could, I will take you for everything you have in the divorce. My father knows judges. You will end up with nothing." I simply slid another folder toward her. "These are the papers my lawyer prepared. She specializes in cases involving infidelity and financial deception. You should read them carefully before making threats." As Sarah flipped through the documents, her expression shifted from defiance to shock, then fear. The papers detailed not only her affair, but the legal consequences of her financial misconduct. In our state, infidelity combined with misuse of marital funds severely limited her claims in divorce proceedings. "You calculated bastard," she whispered. "How long have you been planning this?" "Since Thanksgiving," I replied honestly. "When you decided to humiliate me in front of everyone we know, you gave me the push I needed to see our marriage clearly." Sarah began to cry, not gentle tears, but ugly, panicked sobs. "You cannot do this to me. I made a mistake, but 7 years of marriage has to count for something. It counted for something to me," I said, surprised by how calm I felt. "To you, it was just something to mock and betray. Nothing to be thankful for. Remember, please, Dusty." She reached for my hand across the table. "We can work this out. I will end things with Mark. We can go to counseling." I gently pulled my hand away. "It is too late, Sarah. Much too late." She switched tactics, instantly face hardening. "Fine. You want war. You will get it. Mark earns 3 times what you do. We are in love. He will help me fight this." "Is that so?" I asked, sliding the final folder toward her. "These are Mark's text messages from the past week after I had my lawyer contact his firm about potential sexual harassment implications, given that he is a senior manager and you work under him." Sarah's hands trembled as she read the messages in which Mark frantically distanced himself from her, claiming she had pursued him, and that he wanted nothing to do with her marital problems. "He cannot do this," she whispered. "He promised me." "Apparently his career matters more than those promises," I said. "Much like how our vows mattered less to you than whatever thrill you got from betraying me." Sarah collapsed into a chair, all pretenses finally gone. For the first time in months, I was seeing the real her, not the carefully maintained facade of a loving wife. "What happens now?" she asked weakly. "Now you pack a bag and leave. The divorce papers have already been filed. My lawyer will contact yours, assuming you get one. The house will be sold and assets divided according to the prenuptial agreement we signed, factoring in your documented infidelity and financial misconduct." Where am I supposed to go? That I said, standing up from the table, is no longer my concern. Sarah moved out that night, taking only personal belongings. The divorce proceeded more smoothly than I had anticipated. Mark completely abandoned her once his position at the company came under scrutiny. Her parents, traditional and conservative, were deeply disappointed by her behavior. Even Jessica, who had smirked at my humiliation during Thanksgiving, kept her distance, unwilling to be associated with a scandal. The house sold quickly, and after debts were settled, I purchased a smaller place closer to downtown. The divorce was finalized 4 months after that fateful Thanksgiving dinner. In the end, Sarah received much less than she would have in an amicable separation, her infidelity and financial misconduct well documented and considered by the court. Those first months alone were harder than I had expected. Despite the betrayal, 7 years of marriage left a void that success in divorce court could not fill. I found myself sitting in my new living room, some evenings surrounded by victory but completely alone. My brother Jake was my rock during that time. "You did what you had to do," he reminded me often. "She gave you no choice." Gradually, I established new routines. morning runs in the park near my new home, evening cooking classes where I refined the skills that had once been just a way to please Sarah, weekend hiking trips with Jake and his friends, exploring trails I had always wanted to try, but never had the time for. I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Patricia Nelson, who helped me process not just the betrayal but the years of subtle emotional manipulation that had preceded it. You are mourning not just the end of your marriage, she explained, during one session, but the person you thought Sarah was. That person never existed. 3 months after the divorce, I joined a community service group that renovated homes for veterans. The physical labor was therapeutic, and the camaraderie filled some of the emptiness. I made new friends. People who knew me only as Dusty, not as half of a failed marriage. 6 months post-divorce, while volunteering at a literacy fundraiser, I ran into Emma Garcia, a woman I had known in college but lost touch with years ago. She was running the event, confidently directing volunteers and charming donors. Dusty Williams, she smiled when she spotted me. I heard you were back in the single world. Volunteer coordinator told me you signed up. We started with coffee after the event, which turned into dinner the following week. Emma was divorced too. No children, focused on her career in nonprofit management. She was funny, direct, and refreshingly honest about everything from her divorce to her career ambitions. Unlike Sarah, who had always wanted to impress Emma, seemed comfortable in her own skin. She wore minimal makeup, laughed loudly at jokes, and had no problem telling me when I was being, in her words, unnecessarily analytical about simple things. On our third date, I told her everything about my marriage and its spectacular ending. I expected pity or discomfort, but Emma just listened attentively. Well, she said when I finished, Sarah sounds like she did you a favor in the long run. Though I have to say the Thanksgiving dinner confrontation was overkill on your part. You think so? I asked, surprised. Oh, definitely theatrical, she grinned. But also completely deserved. I would have paid to see her face. With Emma, I learned to laugh again about things that had once seemed permanently painful. More importantly, I learned to trust again, slowly and carefully but genuinely. As the one-year anniversary of that horrible Thanksgiving approached, I decided to reclaim the holiday. I invited a small group to my new home, Jake and his girlfriend, my mother, 2 friends from the volunteer group, and Emma. I cooked a traditional meal, but with none of the desperate need to impress that had driven me the previous year. We ate at my small dining table, crowded but comfortable, passing dishes, family style and talking over each other in the best possible way. After dinner, as everyone helped clear the table, Emma pulled me aside in the kitchen. You know what I am thankful for? She asked, her arms slipping around my waist. What is that? I smiled down at her. That Sarah was dumb enough to let you go. She stood on tiptoes to kiss me quickly. Her spectacular loss, my incredible gain. Later, when everyone had gone except Emma, we sat on my couch with glasses of whiskey, talking about the future for the first time. I am not looking to rush into anything, she said carefully. But I like where this is going, Dusty. So do I admitted. You know what I learned this past year? That respect is non-negotiable in any relationship. Without it, love is just an empty word. Amen. To that, Emma raised her glass. To respect honesty, and knowing when to walk away. And knowing when to stay, I added, clinking my glass against hers. That night, lying in bed with Emma sleeping peacefully beside me, I reflected on the journey of the past year. The humiliation at that Thanksgiving table had been excruciating but necessary. It had forced me to see what I had been avoiding for too long and gave me the courage to demand better for myself. Sometimes the deepest wounds create openings for the life we truly deserve, and that, I realized, was something genuinely worth being thankful for. What about you? Have you ever had to rebuild your life after betrayal or public humiliation? How did you find the strength to start over? Share your story in the comments below. And if this video resonated with you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more real-life experiences, and share with someone who might need to hear that better days are possible after betrayal. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes losing what you thought you wanted leads to finding what you truly deserve.